Carry On is one of those old-fashioned throwback action movies, almost like one you'd see in the 90s, where it's a black and white story of a good guy trying to stop a bad guy in a limited time. In this film, the star is Taron Egerton, who plays a TSA agent who must stop a terrorist from smuggling a dangerous gas weapon on a plane where his wife, friends, and coworkers' lives, as well as the entirety of an airport on Christmas Eve, are all at stake. It's a fun, fast-paced movie that does suffer a bit from being convoluted at times, and in my opinion, not as grand or weird as a movie like this should and can be. The movie is being released now on Netflix. I do feel that in the landscape of Netflix movies, where films are constantly released, almost daily, being churned out by the content mill, this fits the mold of a typical Netflix movie. It makes you want to watch. It has that bland and sterile watchability of a cookie-cutter action film you would have got 10 years ago. What I like is this isn't some alien or multiversal threat, which is the huge issue with blockbusters nowadays. This feels like something that could happen, that is possible and grounded in our reality. Our TSA agent hero, who never got into the police academy and wants to prove himself to his superiors and his girlfriend on Christmas Eve, has a generic, albeit functional motivation that works. We feel for him, and we want him to be able to stop this threat on Christmas Eve. I did like a lot of the elements at play, but honestly, I feel for a movie like this, it's simply too long and too boring at parts. This movie is set entirely in the airport, and I do admire the simplicity of the script as well, but at the same time, the movie has a pro and con factor, where every good element is offset by a negative element. So let's talk about that today. Let's discuss how Carry On is a run-of-the-mill throwaway Netflix action flick, which doesn't really leave a mark, and what it could have done to be the next Die Hard 2, or at least be a film that will leave you talking. Because as it is, this is a fun water cooler movie, but it's not a film I think will be discussed for many years to come. So the main issue with Carry On to me is its pacing, which is also a pro and a con. The movie runs just over 2 hours, and to be honest, it feels a bit long. There are a lot of good things about this too. The opening allows us to get to meet the characters. Our inciting incident shows the unseen terrorist, who later is revealed to be Jason Bateman, acquiring the bomb to put on the plane. It is pretty smart and starts the film off with a bang. No pun intended. But a pro is it's too rushed and simply just functional. There's nothing added to the scene which gives it motivation or depth. This random unseen dude just picks up a package from a bunch of really obviously bad-looking dudes and he just kills them and leaves them for dead. This is just pretty mechanical and serves the function of the story. It doesn't add anything new. There's no quirky characters or fun interactions or anything that brings these characters grounded beyond what the story needs to tell us. For example, in Michael Bay's films, he always gives the characters, even the bad guys, a bit more. They're weird, they have funny lines, they joke about what the characters are wearing. In this movie, they just simply say, "You got the package?" Like, yes, and then he just betrays them and that's it. It's really simple, not enough, doesn't really leave a lasting impression. Take, for example, in Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant, the corrupt cops get high and they start to see iguanas dancing on the coffee table. Like, that's memorable, that's weird, that's something you remember. In Die Hard 2, we get lots of scenes showing the main bad guy preparing to do his job, which even includes him doing some, Tai Chi nude in his motel room. He has this funny way of talking. Even when he's luring a plane to his death in Die Hard 2, he appropriates this accent as an air tower control guy. He's just charismatic and weird and different. And that's what I kind of wanted in this movie. I'm not saying we need to see Jason Bateman doing yoga nude, but the movie should give us a bit more to latch onto. Because, as it is, the movie only serves the mechanical function of telling a story and delivering information. It rarely tacks on anything meaningful or original or different to make its movie and characters stand out from those pre-existing stories. Jason Bateman is just another forgettable, shady antagonist, and he plays the role very well, but it's not like you're going to remember him for this movie years from now. In fact, he's more well cast in projects like The Outsider or Ozark, where he actually gets to do things a little different from what he usually does. And those roles are far more memorable. I mean, honestly, Ozark Jason Bateman is just Jason Bateman, but in the setting, it works. The same goes for Taron Egerton, who does deliver a great performance. I really did love him in this movie. But his character is just so bland and lacking in any emotional truth. But it's not hard to get involved in rooting for him. Egerton is too great of a performer to let the script take away from his character. He really plays this role of a desperate TSA officer trying to prove himself and wanting a better life for himself and his girlfriend, and now caught in the middle of a potential terrorist threat on Christmas Eve really well. I mean, there's even scenes where he's running like Tom Cruise. He puts in the work. It's a movie that doesn't take many creative choices, and it doesn't really ever go over the top with its set pieces. Like, most of it is set in an airport, and I don't want to compare everything to action maestro Michael Bay, but even he sets his bar really high and is always elevating his action scenes. Like in 6 Underground, they race all over the globe. There's a tower heist, there's a car chase through Spain, there's a final battle on a cruise ship that's being flipped over with giant magnets. It's just so cool. Even Die Hard 2 has scenes set on a plane, in a church outside of an airport. There is a snowmobile chase. There's fights in different parts of the airport too. But this movie just chooses to set all its action in one location, which is okay, but it greatly reduces the threat and the scope of the story. On top of that, it's just so damn convoluted, where everything has to work perfectly in order for the bad guy to execute his plan, and it shouldn't, but just because it's a movie, it does. And by work perfectly, I mean it should be extremely difficult for this guy to target this one TSA agent and blackmail him to let a dangerous package slip onto the plane, but just works because it's a movie and it has to happen. I hate to be that guy, but in no way in real life would he have this sniper trained and ready to kill this guy's girlfriend at an airport, of all places. And Jason Bateman says he's going to have this sniper take out his girlfriend as blackmail in case the TSA agent does not let the dangerous package through security. And even in that case, the sniper who's ready just casually pulls up to the front of the airport in a massive airport where you think there'd be thousands of people. He just finds the girlfriend like right away and is ready to take her out. Like, it just requires so much suspense and disbelief. I suppose they could have someone actively stalking her through the airport with a weapon on them. They don't really go that route. They do that with someone else who has a knife and stabs someone and then somehow gets away with it. Again, in a crowded airport, it just really makes you think. Like, you really have to shut your brain off for this movie, which is something I don't like to say. Also, there's this subplot with this federal agent tracking the bomb or gas, whatever it is, which doesn't necessarily rob the story of anything, but it certainly slows down the pacing. And then there's this car action scene with her that completely took me out of the movie. In fact, this is actually what I was talking about when I said I want to see more scenes set outside the airport. This is just in the front row of a compact car that's so clearly been done on green screen. It's laughable, and it just feels like we're in another movie altogether. I would have liked to see more menacing side characters who work for Jason Bateman. And I would have liked to see perhaps old school action. A lot of stuff here is just chases or mind games and conversations over the phone. There's never really a moment where it feels like anyone is in extreme danger. Yet Dean Norris is in this as the chief TSA guy, and he gets threatened a couple of times. And then later in the film, he gets killed. All because he discovers what's in the case, and right at the moment, he dies. And it's just kind of frustrating. I really do wish there were more people who slowly realize what's going on in the movie, because as it is, it's frustrating, and I get that that might be the point, but I do feel like it would work well if everyone starts to figure out what's going on, and then everyone is trying to stop the bomb. The fact that there's just one TSA guy running around just gets old after a while. I think they needed to bring more people into the dynamic. I do like that at the beginning you're kind of like wanting, you know, like his girlfriend to believe him, and you know, you can tell she thinks he's frantic and he's all over the place because there's a bomb and he can't tell her, he doesn't want to scare her. But like after a while, it just gets old, and I wanted to just see more people try and stop this bomb or it to grow bigger. It just feels like the whole movie, it's the same kind of consistent, boring thing. This one guy is running around the airport trying to stop a bomb from going off, but it needs to do more with that. And like just killing Hank Schrader is not enough. I mean, you might think, oh man, I like that guy, he's cool. I'm sad they killed Hank. But it doesn't really impact the story in any strong way. Additionally, there are side characters who don't even really come back or get redemption in a proper way. One TSA agent gets scammed by Taron Egerton's character, who replaces his coffee cup with one laced with liquor so he can take over his spot at the counter. And then he has to be there to intercept the dangerous package when it arrives. He doesn't want to do this, he likes the guy, but he's worried about his girlfriend's life, and he does this. But then, the TSA agent guy he frames doesn't even really come back till the very end. There's so many moments in here where I wanted a setup to have a payoff. It will be satisfying, but this movie just doesn't do that. And the people in the airport being in danger is also just really non-existent. We're worried about Jason Bateman's wife, and that's it. I get that now in movies it might not be cool to kill a bunch of innocent people, but at least make the point that these bad guys are very bad. And the movie just doesn't really do that. I mean, Die Hard 2 is the gold standard of action films set in airports. And in that movie alone, the terrorists crash a plane full of passengers just to prove a point, which sets up that these guys aren't fucking around. I'm not saying Carry On needs a scene where Jason Bateman blows up a plane full of 200 people to make a point, but they should at least make these guys feel more threatening in a way that's grounded and plausible. The TSA guy just communicating with bad guys via an AirPod that someone dropped in a security line is totally fine and it works at establishing communication, but after a while, you start to lose the belief that no one has caught on to what's going on. If the movie raised the stakes, changed up the location, or maybe put Taron Egerton's TSA guy in more danger, I would feel the stakes and energy. As it is, it feels silly, it feels fictional and not real, like something that could happen in real life, but in the world of the movie, it makes more sense, I guess. It's just too bland and safe to feel realistic or tense. I really did think this movie was kind of like a fun Christmas action flick, but it really just could have been better. And it was a bit too safe, and I just guess I wanted to see a more darker movie. If you're going to make your Christmas Eve action film, you need to have danger. You need to have stakes. You need to have characters you really feel are in danger. And most of all, you need to have scope. I think this movie would have benefited from having a larger scale, more set pieces, and bringing things outside of the airport, not just for that stupid car chase scene, which was ridiculous. I really think all the performances here were really great. Jason Bateman was honestly well cast, but if they had more people working for him, where you feel like he's just kind of the man pulling the strings, but there are other people who Taron Egerton has to fight, I think it would be much better. I just think the movie feels kind of small, and it should feel bigger. So let me know what you guys think of Carry On, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't like it. Thanks so much for watching, though. Make sure to subscribe, give me a like, and let me know what you guys think of Carry On. Thanks so much for watching.